Hello everyone, welcome back all to this channel. I know it's a dream of every individual, be it a lower, middle or upper income group, to own a piece of land or building. Depending on their income size, necessity, priorities and passion, every individual dreams to own a piece of land, right? So few such opportunities in the real estate or property space would be, it could be agriculture land, it could be a plot, it could be house, or even it could be an apartment or a commercial space, right? So these investment opportunities with respect to the real estate can be further subdivided into: agriculture land can be purchased as a part of green belt agriculture land, or it can be purchased as a part of yellow belt agriculture land, right? And then under plots, we would have BDA approved plots or sites, and then we have local revenue or corporation approved plots or sites, right? And again, coming to the houses, it can be BDA approved or a BDA constructed, or a house constructed on a BDA plot, or it can be a house constructed on a revenue or a corporation plot, right? And in case of apartment or commercial space, it could be from the private entity, or it could be from the BDA. So what is BDA here? BDA is nothing but the Bangalore Development Authority. Here I'm quoting it as a BDA. The reason being it is, if you are in Bangalore, BDA is the local governing authority or the governing body which floats, develops and sells the plots or sites to the prospective buyers, right? So similar to BDA, we would have several other local governing bodies or development authorities. Like if you go to Mysore, it could be MUDA, Mysore Urban and Development Authority. If you go to Tumkur, it could be TUDA. Similarly, across India, right, you have a local governing body or a development authorities which eventually develops and sells the land to the prospective consumers or the customers, right? So these are the comprehensive list of property options what we have for us to buy and or invest, right? Now one such incident occurred with one of my closest friend who happened to have lost that piece of land and advance he made. That was very disappointing and emotional moment where their family almost ended up losing their entire hard earned savings for several years with only motive or dream to own a piece of agriculture land, right? So we never felt such dream would have become such a costly affair. They had to pay FT fine for such a dream, right? So upon analysis, I felt the root cause was key to the proper knowledge and documentation. So that moment in fact triggered me to make this video, as I was personally witnessing their family agony, pain, sufferings due to one such incident. I felt all of us need to have some basic information, and that is absolutely necessary for any property purchases, right? So this is my small effort to create awareness and no such family suffers in future, right? So purchasing property is an emotion that differs from one individual to another individual, right? Say for an example, one purchases property due to necessity, other could purchase a property for investment, someone else could purchase property for pure trade purpose, and someone else could purchase for a passion, right? So I recommend you all to personally assess the need of the property based on this need quadrangle, right? So necessity is nothing but your basic shelter which you are requiring at this point of time. So investment is nothing but, along with the basic necessity, you have some portion of the savings which you need to invest for your future planning, right? So that's where you plan to invest on a multiple properties, right? So that becomes an investment. So trade is nothing but, it's purely a business orientation. You're buying the land or a house or a plot as an inventory or a stock, and then you're reselling it for some portion of profits, right? So it's purely a trade activity, it's purely a business activity, and someone else could buy it for a passion, right? So here passion means you could own a piece of a residential plot, but however you also wish to own a piece of agriculture land, right? So that becomes a passion to you, right? So giving agriculture land as an example along with the home which you already have or a residential house which you already have could be a classic example of a passion, right? So once we decide upon the need quadrangle, the next one would be the finance quadrangle, right? So what does this finance quadrangle say? We need to achieve that first quadrangle, right? That is, whether you fall under necessity or you fall under investment or a trade or a passion, we need to achieve that via financing, right? So we term it as finance quadrangle, where you decide upon the budget for which your necessity is likely to be appearing in your life, and then comes the savings plus borrowings for the investment, right? Definitely you would have some savings, and then you would also need to go with some external borrowings in case you are going with the investment. And in case of any trade, this is called as capital. You need to have some capital to continue or kickstart with your trade or business activities, right? And likewise with your passion, definitely you should go with the savings and never with the external borrowings, because your passion should not be later turned into an irritation or a persecution, right? So that's with respect to the second quadrangle. So once you decide upon the finance quadrangle, then comes the list of next action points, right? Then we need to decide upon the location, then we need to have a proper documentation. When we need to analyze, we need to go through the documentation, then you make an advance, and finally you get into a registration, right? So I'm sure you all are quite literate enough to take care of first and the second quadrangle. But if you really think you might need some more inputs about first and the second quadrangle, please feel free to drop your comment in the comment section below for more detailed video on first and second quadrangle, right? Now coming to the location, I am sure it depends on your interest, requirement, purchasing capacity, proximity, right? We can discuss in detail in the upcoming video. Now here comes the most important or the dynamic part of any property purchase in India, right? That is documentation, which is very much vital and critical for any investment opportunities. Let's start understanding the list of documentation required for each of the real estate types. To begin with, let's start with the agriculture land, right? So essentially agriculture land is divided into two, which is a green belt agriculture land and the yellow belt agriculture land. So today I'll be taking you all through the green belt agriculture land documentation, which is very much essential for us. What all documentation is essential for us to purchase a green belt agriculture land, right? So if you are planning to buy a green belt agriculture land, my sincere request is to not compromise with the type and usage of the land. Please don't compromise with the usage of the land and use it for the intended purpose only. So having said that, it means that if you are buying a green belt agriculture land, use it for the agriculture purpose only and never try to trade between anything else. Comprehensive list of documentation required for green belt agriculture land purchases are: first one is mother deed. You would need a mother deed. Second one would be a sale deed. You would need a proper sale deed. Then if there is any transfer or a title deed, you would also need to collect the transfer or the title deed. Then you would also need to collect the sketch, which we call it as code, akarband or andar bahar, which in fact tells the sketch of the property, the inner layer and the outer layer, which includes the roads, canals, neighborhood properties, right? So that's a sketch which we would also require before purchasing any property, ensuring that it is not falling on any of the government acquired land or it is not falling in any of the forest area, right? So that becomes a sketch. Then comes the mutation copy. We need to have the mutation copy, which in fact states right from the beginning what all transaction was happened on that particular piece of land, and in case of any pledge or mortgage would also be shown in the mutation copy. Then comes the RTC, Right to Crop Act, where we need to have the RTC. The RTC should be in the owner's name, prospective owner's name, for us to go ahead and make a purchase, right? If possible, I'll try to show all this documentation in the upcoming videos, sample documentation of all this in the upcoming videos, so that if you could see, you could get a visual impact or the benefit of these documentations, right? And then comes the tax paid receipts. You have to collect the latest tax paid receipts against that property what you're planning to purchase. And then we need to collect Vamsha Ruksha, which in Karnataka we call it as Vamsha Ruksha. Other part of Karnataka or outside Karnataka or any part of India, we call it as a family tree. You need to acquire a family tree and notified or notary approved family tree, and then we need to obtain Hakku Kulase Patra, which we also call it as a relinquishment deed. And then comes the gift deed. There could be a possibility that apart from the regular transfer deed, sale deed, or a mother deed, a gift would have been made of this property, as say father would have gifted to their daughters, and then you would also need to obtain the gift deed if it is a gifted property, right? Then you need to obtain encumbrance certificate, which would be at least 18 years would be good enough, and then you need to take an Aadhaar copy of a prospective seller or a vendor, and then you need to take a PAN copy of a prospective seller. Then definitely you need to take a bank NOC or a NDC, right? Generally agriculture property would be pledged in certain banks for a loan. Then before purchasing, you should make sure that bank NOC, no objection certificate or no due certificate, has to be collected before going into the registration hall, right? And last but not the least, you should also consider a latest boundary wall or a schedule, which we actually get it in as a part of sketch, but it is always wise to have it on a piece of a paper to ensure what is the road, what is your neighborhood property, and what all proximity around your property what you are planning to purchase. So that was all about the comprehensive list of documentation what is required for a property purchase, especially agriculture land purchase in Karnataka, right? So please be careful while purchasing land from the developing community. So we have essentially divided ourselves into two community, right? One is developed and a developing community. Now what is this developing community? Any land or a property belonging to scheduled castes or scheduled tribes is called as a land from developing community. Generally those lands would be given by government for their betterment and the upliftment of that particular community, and definitely we should not go ahead and make a purchase of such property, because that land is given for the survival of those community, right? And I don't believe in specific caste theory, but I strongly believe in progressive and declining theory. And essentially, I believe in only two things. One is developed community and the other one is developing community, right? And it's a responsibility of every individual from developed community to uplift and support developing community, but not to take away any piece of land which is being specifically given to the developing community for their survival and growth, right? And that's the only way of India becoming a supreme economy, and not with any individual governing body or anything else, right? So coming back to the topic, this is all about the documentation of agriculture land purchase in Karnataka and elsewhere in Karnataka as well, with minor changes to the naming convention of the documentation, but rest all would remain same. Hope this video was helpful. In the next video, I'll be speaking about the documentation of agriculture land belonging to the grey belt area. Until then, take care, and please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for latest notification. Thank you all.